There's something magical about ancient Stoic quotes. Even though they were written thousands of years ago, they still resonate with us today. They have the power to inspire us to be better versions of ourselves and to live our lives to the fullest. But here's the thing. It's not enough just to read these quotes. We need to put them into practice. And that's where the real magic happens. When we start to apply these quotes to our own lives, we begin to see the world in a new way. We become more resilient in the face of adversity. We learn how to find joy in the present moment, and we discover the strength that lies within us. So here are 7 of my favorite Marcus Aurelius and Seneca quotes, paired with true stories of people who have used them to improve their own lives. Stick around until the end because this last one has been a game changer for me, personally. No, he is a costly acquisition who makes you a better person. This quote from Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the people we choose to surround ourselves with can have a profound impact on who we are. It's not about the number of friends we have, but the quality of the relationships we nurture. The best friendships are those that challenge us to grow, to be better versions of ourselves. Take, for example, the story of Sarah. She was a young professional who felt like she had hit a ceiling in her career. No matter how hard she worked, she just couldn't seem to get ahead. Then she decided to reach out to a mentor, someone she admired for their success and wisdom. At first, Sarah was intimidated by her mentor's accomplishments. But as their relationship grew, she realized that this mentor was exactly the kind of friend she needed. Her mentor didn't just offer advice, but also held her accountable for taking action. She challenged Sarah to step outside of her comfort zone and to take risks she never thought she could. With her mentor's support and encouragement, Sarah was able to break through her self-imposed limitations and achieve success in her career. She learned that sometimes all we need is the right person to believe in us when we do not believe in ourselves. Number 2, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In this quote, Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the only thing we truly have control over is our own thoughts and reactions. External events, other people's actions, and the outcomes of situations are all beyond our grasp. The key to inner strength, he suggests, lies in recognizing this limitation and focusing on what we can influence. This lesson was driven home to me during a particularly challenging period in my life. I was dealing with a difficult situation at work, trying to navigate a complex personal issue and feeling overwhelmed by the uncertainty of the future. As I grappled with these problems, I realized that I was wasting a lot of energy worrying about things that were completely out of my control. It was draining me emotionally and mentally, and I knew I had to make a change. That is when I decided to start practicing mindfulness and to focus on the things I could influence instead of those I couldn't. This shift in perspective allowed me to approach my challenges with a sense of calm and clarity. I was able to tackle each problem one step at a time, focusing on the actions I needed to take rather than the potential outcomes. While I may not have been able to change the situation itself, I discovered that I had the power to change my reaction to it. And that inner strength can come from accepting the things we cannot change and channeling our energy towards what we can. No. 3. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 4. Section 32. These words from Marcus Aurelius are a powerful reminder that happiness is not something that we find out there in the world. It's something that we create within ourselves. Sure, external circumstances play a role, but ultimately, our happiness depends on our mindset and our ability to find joy in the present moment. Meet David. He's a prime example of someone who took these words to heart. When David was younger, he always thought that happiness was just around the corner, just one big success or one major accomplishment away. He chased promotions, bigger paychecks, and luxurious possessions, believing that they would finally bring him the joy he was seeking. But no matter what he achieved, that elusive happiness seemed to slip through his fingers. Eventually, David stumbled upon the philosophy of Stoicism and began to understand that true happiness comes from within. He started to focus on his mindset, on finding contentment in the present moment, and on embracing the ups and downs of life with equanimity. Instead of chasing external things, David began to appreciate what he already had and to find joy in the journey rather than just the destination. It wasn't an easy journey, but with practice and persistence, David was able to transform his mindset and ultimately found the happiness he had been seeking all along. If you're enjoying this video so far, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel, and I greatly appreciate your support. For if you want to improve, be content to be seen as incompetent. Seneca reminds us that if we want to grow and improve, we must be willing to be seen as incompetent. This means letting go of our ego and being open to learning from others. It also means being comfortable with the fact that we do know everything and that we do everything perfectly. This lesson was brought home to me in a very humbling way. When I started working on a new project that was completely outside of my area of expertise, I had no choice but to ask for help from colleagues who were more experienced than I was. At first, it was tough for me to swallow my pride and admit that I needed assistance. But as I began to learn from others, I realized that it wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather a strength. By being willing to be seen as incompetent, I was able to gain new skills and knowledge that I could use to contribute to the team in a meaningful way. This experience taught me that true competence comes not from pretending to know everything, but from being open to learning and growing. 5. All the time you spend in the future will be exactly the same as time spent now. So stop worrying about it. In this quote, Marcus Aurelius encourages us to stop worrying about the future, because every moment, whether in the past, present, or future, is exactly the same. He reminds us that time is always passing, so why waste it worrying about what might happen? Instead, let's focus on living in the present moment and making the most of it. Take, for example, the story of Maria. She was a high school student who was constantly worried about the future. What would her grades be like next semester? Would she get into a good college? How would she find a job after graduation? All of these worries kept her up at night and made it hard to enjoy her present moment. Then one day, her guidance counselor introduced her to the philosophy of Stoicism. Maria began to realize that worrying about the future wasn't going to change anything. It was just causing unnecessary stress and anxiety. Instead, she needed to focus on the present moment and make the most of it. So Maria started to take small steps. She began to study more effectively, to explore different career options, and to talk to her friends and family about her worries. By focusing on the present moment and taking small actions, Maria was able to reduce her anxiety and feel more in control of her future. It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. This quote from Epictetus is a reminder that our circumstances don't define us. It's our response to them that truly matters. Life will always throw us curveballs, but it's up to us to decide how we'll react. We can choose to see the negative or the positive, to complain, or to be grateful, to despair, or to hope. Our reaction is what will determine the outcome. This is a lesson that James learned firsthand. When he was diagnosed with a chronic illness, at first, he felt angry and resentful. Why him? What did he do to deserve this? But as time went on, James began to realize that his reaction to his diagnosis would determine how he lived the rest of his life. He could either give in to despair, or he could choose to adapt and keep living life on his terms. James chose the latter. He learned to focus on the positive aspects of his life and to find joy in the little things. He also became an advocate for others with chronic illnesses, helping them to see that a diagnosis is not a death sentence, and that life can still be full of meaning and purpose. James realized that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we react, and that's what truly matters. And no. 7. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Marcus Aurelius invites us to pause and appreciate the beauty that surrounds us. He reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always something worth celebrating. The stars, the flowers, the laughter of children, the kindness of strangers. There is beauty all around us, if we take the time to notice it. When we make a conscious effort to dwell on the beauty of life, it fills our hearts with joy and gratitude. We begin to see that life is not just about the hardships and challenges we face, but also about the wonder and awe that it offers. Take, for example, the story of Helen. She was a woman who had faced a great deal of hardship in her life. She had lost her job, her home, and her sense of purpose. But one day, as she was walking down a busy street, she saw a group of children playing. Their laughter was contagious, and it reminded her of a time when life was simpler and full of joy. From that moment on, Helen made a conscious effort to find the beauty in everyday life. She started volunteering at a local soup kitchen, where she was touched by the kindness and generosity of the donors and volunteers. She joined a hiking group and was amazed by the beauty of nature. And she reconnected with old friends and made new ones. Helen realized that beauty was all around her and that it had the power to heal and inspire. By choosing to dwell on the beauty of life, Helen was able to transform her negative thoughts into positive ones, and to find hope and joy in the midst of her struggles. And that's it. 7 Stoic quotes from Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, paired with inspiring stories of real people who have applied these lessons to their own lives. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these quotes resonates with you the most, and how have you applied it to your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. As always, thanks for watching.